I come over this distance, right? So it tells me that this guy is going to be this 2.688. So I'm going to just put a line over here, and I'm going to go 2.688.
Remind me where ortho is. It's at the bottom.
It's at the bottom. It's also F8 on your hotkeys function.
Isn't that open book exam?
So I would hope by the time that we get to an exam that you won't need a book. But so far, you know, I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you the truth that in 19 years I've never had anyone need a book for an exam. So you would be the first.
I'm different.
I don't know if that's a pride moment.
Right?
So I'm going to go 2.688, right? And from here it tells me that these things are actually 2 inches apart, but 1 inch from the center. So I don't really care which one you do. You can go top or bottom, but they are going to be 1 inch from this line we just put in. So I'm going to go 1 here, and then I'm going to go 2 here, right? Because it's 2 above. So you should get something that looks like that. And all I've done is given myself a location for these circles. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. And I don't want to say it's hard, but there is a little bit of, we talked about that print reading stuff and the TYP and the instances of occurrence with the 3x or 2x or whatever, that you know that there's multiple of that type of feature. And this is one of those times. So you can see here that it gives you at the top this 3x radius 0.563, and at the bottom it gives you this 2x diameter 0.5. So the 2x I think is very easy to see, right? You're going to have these circles and they're both diameter 0.5. That's, I hope, pretty obvious. Outside ones, I see 1, I see 2, and the third one is actually this curve. So that one's a little tricky to see. You may have figured that out just because it looks about the same size, but you don't have to kind of figure it out, and this is important because it actually is going to tell you somewhere. And that, like I said, as we move forward, that information is going to be key to be able to locate and know why, not just like, it looks about the same. It has to tell you it's the same. Otherwise, you're assuming information that is not displayed for you. Okay, so keep that in mind. So I am going to use these 2 endpoints of this line, and I'm going to lay in these circles. I need a diameter one to start. So I'm going to get my diameter circle, and from each end, I'm going to go 0.5. I'm going to hit spacebar to repeat, of course, and because I just used 0.5, I can just hit enter. So that's kind of nice. Again, just kind of brushing up on those efficiencies. Spacebar repeats the last command, right? And by default, it's going to use the last measurement that I used. So once I do the second circle, it already has the diameter 0.5 in there. Okay? And I'm going to do the same thing for these outside ones, except they're going to be radius circles. So the operation changes to radius, but procedure is essentially the same. I'm going to go 0.563, enter. And again, I'm going to be able to hit spacebar, center point, and then just enter. And you can kind of see it this time. It's displayed right there in the little carrots for you, right? The brackets there, so you know that's the default. So I just hit enter, right? So this is my layout. And from here, we did last week, and this may be a little hazy to you, but we did the tangent snap. If you remember that, we forced it with that TAN enter. Remember, if it's recognizing other object snaps, you can force it by typing in the first couple of letters of that snap and hitting enter. So I'm going to get a line, and I'm going to come up to this guy, and you can see that it's not giving that to me. So TAN enter, and I'm going to click here. You can see I have my tangent snap activated, and I'm going to do the same thing on this one. So TAN enter again, and the same process for the bottom. TAN enter, and TAN enter, and I should get those guys. And I'm going to delete these 2 lines because I don't need those anymore. They were just for layout. And we're getting pretty close. This is going to be pretty close to what we needed. So from here, we need this curve. And there are a series of complex ways that I could go about laying that all out, finding the center point, measuring in so that I could find a arc that would be at approximately 5.63, but that's pretty cumbersome and difficult. So they've given you this tool they call tangent radius. It lives under this split button for the circle. So you're going to hit the bottom part of the button, and I'm going to get this tangent radius guy. And it's going to go tangent, you see it gives you the little snap, tangent to the first circle, tangent to the second circle, and I know the radius because they said there's 3 of these guys, right? So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, look, I need to type in 0.563 for my radius, and that's going to give you the circle that's already touching, which is kind of neat. It's already touching those 2 circles, and it is going to swing a radius of that 0.563. So let me redo that one because that does get a little confusing for some people. So again, the bottom of this guy, I'm going to go to tangent radius. I'm going to go tangent to the first object, you see the snap, tangent to the second object, snap, and then I'm going to type in the given radius. So in this case, it's 5.63.
What is the shortcut for tangent?
You have to type it in.
Oh,
T-A-N, enter. You talking for the lines, Ben?
okay.
Yeah. All right, so from here, I'm just going to trim. So again, trim, enter. I hope that goes without saying at this point.
It doesn't always work for me. Right.
So here's my flange. Just trimmed out those circles and everything looks pretty good there. So obviously I need to go on to my dimensions. So I'm going to grab a couple of things I need to do. If you remember correctly, I need these guys to have the lines. Remember that from last week, we changed those to lines. So if you remember correctly, under Annotate, Dimension Style Manager, you guys have been here before, Modify. So the tab I'm going to be using this time is Symbols and Arrows. And you can kind of remember that because anything that has to do with dimensions has arrows, and of course symbols, which are the dimensions. So anytime you're trying to modify any kind of dimension, it's going to be on symbols and arrows. And so for symbols and arrows, I'm going to click down here, the kind of next box, second box, if you will, center marks. I want to be line. And again, on the preview, you're going to notice it updates from the plus sign to these longer protruding outside of the circle lines. So center lines instead of marks.
So delete the one I have in there.
Yep, if you have one, you guys probably delete it. It won't update it. So from here, I'm going to go in and I'm going to put in these dimensions for the diameter circle. So I'm going to go to my dimensions, I'm going to choose diameter, and I'm going to choose the outermost circle on this one. And I'm going to pull up to right about there, looks pretty good. Do the same thing for the bottom, but this is going to be the inside circle, and they kind of want these in line. So, you know, as close as you can, I would say. It doesn't have to be laser perfect, but pretty close. I'm going to do the same thing for this small circle, the inner one. I'm going to put this guy down here a little farther. And the other circles are radius, so we have to change tools. We're going to get radius. I'm going to plop that guy in. Now, you're going to notice a couple things. First, my precision's off, which we've done before. Second, zero suppression, if you remember that, that's also an issue I need to deal with. So it looks like I'm headed back over to the Annotate ribbon. Dimension Style Manager, Modify, And at this point, I'm gonna go to primary units because we're dealing with the units part of the measurements. And I need for these guys 3 decimal places. So I'm gonna toggle that to 3. And if you remember correctly, down on that same primary units tab, towards the bottom left hand, there's a little checkbox for leading 0 suppression. So I'm gonna update that guy, and then I'm just gonna OK out of this and close. And it should make these all look nice now. And I'm gonna put this over on the dimension layer. So if you remember, I can just grab all these. I can go to my layer toggle, right, the little stacker, and I can just find my dimension layer and move them. You could have drawn them on your dimension layer. In that case, you wouldn't have to do that stuff.